Community leadership is self-leadership. Hey, I'm Niiamah Ashong, founder of Outliers Edge and co-creator in the World of Difference movement. And the concept of community leadership being self-leadership is something that's really coming home to me right now. As we look into this next year, we're seeing all the different trends that are taking place in community in terms of the different technologies that are available, the different techniques that are coming at place, and also just the change in the ways that people are interacting with us as both like communities and as brands. There's a lot of things that can feel like it needs to get done. And I actually have to be honest here because that's the way that I choose to play here as part of my leadership. I was getting caught up in it. I was thinking about this as I was talking to some of my clients about all the different things that I can do to help them get more things done in this upcoming year when it relates to their communities and the people that they're leading. And what occurred to me is that honestly, there's never enough that can be done. And the real challenge wasn't about whether they should be focusing on transporting their community to a new technology or implementing new moderation techniques or finding different things around really putting it into the community. Where the real challenge was taking care of themselves, leading themselves, and making sure that they were in good place. So I want to focus on that here right now. Are you a community leader who has been feeling burned out, been feeling like underappreciated in what you have been working really hard to leverage the resources that you have around you, but they're not, it's not all that plentiful. One of the things I know as a recovering people pleaser myself is the tendency to want to give and give and give and to keep trying to create to show the importance and to show to get the return on investment in community that is already naturally there. And I'll say this for myself, in the past, I've put in a lot of myself and really burned myself out on both ends of the candle. And it's led to a place where the community itself feels it. The community itself feels frazzled. And so here, my invitation here as we walk into this next year, as we look to what's coming next with us in community, is just to slow down and take a look first and make sure that we are taken care of. We are taken care of. So one of the things that comes to mind on this year is really just around just setting some strong boundaries coming into this year, all right, coming into this next iteration of your community. Where in your world right now are you getting overwhelmed? Are you feeling like the pool of we need to have this isn't here right now? There's new technology coming in here. We should be figuring out how to get people on board with avatars and so on and so forth, where you feel like there's so much of your community needs, or at least the pressures are coming in to incorporate so much more into your community that honestly just feels like a lot of work for you. Take a breath, all right, and really get clear for yourself around what your boundaries are. What are your boundaries here? Now, the boundaries, one of the things I love about boundaries is that they actually end up freeing you more than protecting you or closing you off from things. So in establishing these boundaries here, we're not actually getting rid of anything. We're actually just allowing that which is ready to come to life to actually flourish. Right. It's almost like having a home and having a gate around it. Doesn't mean you're not a part of the neighborhood, but you have a place around you where you can say, I want to nourish and I'm going to do my thing within this space. And it's interesting how as community leaders, we want to be there for the people in our community. And oftentimes we lose what we can curate specifically that's going to nourish ourselves and nurture them throughout. So my first invitation is take some time and figure out the boundaries you want to set for yourself this year. The boundaries around new technology, the boundaries around community growth, the boundaries around how much time you're going to put into things, right? And not from the standpoint of closing yourself off, but instead to give yourself some very healthy constraints to be able to come in and really fuel your community with what it needs, not just the next thing that's available. I have a friend who has a PhD that's centered around creativity, and she told me something that blew my mind. She said, Niiamah, creativity thrives with constraints. Creativity thrives with constraints. I get really excited to see what you can bring into your community and how your community can continue to mold itself and grow, coming from a place of having some very healthy boundaries for yourself. Take care of yourself. There will always be more to do. There will always be more to give as a community leader. And what we want to make sure is that you have the sustenance to be able to make it all the way through, and not just survive this next period of time, but actually thrive. Because when you as a community leader thrive, your community thrives. You see, we're looking to you, whether you play in the background or whether you play in the foreground, we're looking to you to help establish what the community actually is, the direction that we're headed, and the foundations of where we can play. And while I think a lot of us are good with setting up community guidelines or setting up like rules of the road and things for the community, we miss ourselves in this process. It became really clear to me, like, look, I'll be honest, like it's easier said than done, which is why I wanted to take some time and give it some good amount of space in this video here to like really reinforce this. And I also want to be honest with you, right? In thinking of this video, I got caught. I got caught quick. I was like, what am I going to like? What does this need to say? Like, what are all the different trends going on? How can I help them implement them faster? So on and so forth. And I got caught in a doing mentality. And I actually, one of my things is that as part of both my boundaries and like the elements I have of self-care, I went to someone else who I trust. I just invited them to slow down into conversation around me. And one of the key things that came out of that conversation was just like a very, very, very simple realization. For me, it is not about the community. It's about the person managing the community. It's about the manager, not the community. It's about you and how you are being through all these transitions, through all these changes. It's going to be a lot of new that can come about. And some of your members are going to be like rip roaring and ready for all the new changes that are coming. And others are going to be dragging their feet and saying things have changed all along this way, regardless of what it is, whatever of how they show up. I want to make sure that you are in a place where you're able to have the energy to handle what comes next. Right. And I think the first part of that is building yourself some strong and healthy boundaries around how you plan to show up in your community in this next year. Regardless of all the things that can be implemented, let's take that into place first and foremost, right? Let's also look at some of the boundaries around the people around you, depending on like the environment you're in, whether you're working in a corporate environment, whether you're an entrepreneur and community is a big part of your plan, whether you are a community, you're in the society and you're doing this from a societal level and bringing people together in community as well. Got to make sure that we take care of you because there is a long, long road ahead. And there's a lot of fantastic opportunity in community coming up. There's a lot of things around there. And if we can just slow down to set up our own boundaries first, we'll be able to have the wherewithal and the energy to continue through this. So let's leave this here with a few things that you can do to help you set up some stronger boundaries and also have the energy that's here. The first one is just for you to go through your own, like take 10 minutes and think about how you've been running your community so far. What has been called, like we'll do this. We'll actually bring 1 and 2 together into one tool. We'll call this is an energy audit. I first learned about this from a coach and mentor named Rich Litvin. And it's a very simple tool. The tool itself is really about helping you see what in your life is draining you of energy and what in your life is filling you with energy. And the benefit of doing this here is that it's going to give you some chances to see what should you be creating boundaries around and what should you be creating more space, what should you be opening boundaries into to allow yourself to have the energy that's necessary to deal with and to grow with and to ride the changing tides that are coming. Right? So the energy audit is super simple. You can just go take a piece of paper and divide it in half. And you divide make a line right down the middle, and at the top make another line. So you have a little T, right? A high bar T. On one side, make a minus sign, and the other side, make a plus sign, right? And the minus sign is going to represent everything that drains you. You can even write the word drain right above the minus sign. And then the plus side is going to represent everything that fills you. So go ahead and write write the word fills on the plus side. And what you're going to do is just take 10 to 15 minutes to capture everything related to community that drains you right now. What are all the things that are happening in your existing community and you can, and if you want, you can create different rows. So you can like segment these questions down and work through them in different capacities. But you'll look at what's taking place currently in your community that is really that drains you. What's taking place currently in your community that really fills you up, you're like, oh my goodness, like when this happens, it just feels good. What's happening in your community when you look to what you're planning to get done, what drains you and fills you there? When you think about what the trends are in the industry, when you come to all the different things that you can do with making your community and taking it to the next level, what of those ideas really drain you? And what of those ideas really fill you? Bring yourself now into like your work environment. When it comes into the work, like the work that you're doing around it and the people that you're surrounded with, what really drains you and fills you there? In fact, you can take this to look at the ideas, the people, the thoughts, the environments that you're in, and the habits that you have, both related to specifically to your work as a community leader, as well as just you overall. And give yourself a chance to do this energy audit. I sometimes will do this and I'll have 2 or 3 pages worth of like pluses and minuses along the way. And the goal here is to give us like a chance to be able to see with clear eyes what it is that really fills us. You know, I was going to go and give multiple tools in this message, but I actually feel like this one right here is such a big game changer that I don't want to overcomplicate things. Like I'm going to set a boundary right here and say, like, let's actually like implement this. Take 15, 20, 30 minutes and just like give yourself the gift of seeing what works for you and what doesn't. And when you get done, you're going to fill out that page or pages, if that's what comes up. And I want you to go through and circle along the way some of the things that actually really resonate with you, that some of the themes that keep coming up, some of the elements that surprises you, and some of the places where you're like, where you can see like, oh, I'm consistently being drained by this type of approach when it comes to community, or this type of work that's currently on my plate when it comes to the community. And give yourself that space to like honestly start removing the things in your world that is draining you of energy. I'm a positive person. I love to be like, let's fill you up. But if we don't like first close up the areas where energy is being drained and sucked out of us, we're going to be playing a never-ending game here. Right. Our goal is to help remove the things that are draining you of energy. Focus on that first, while incorporating some of the things that fill you. But once you've removed one at a time, the things that are draining you, and you start replacing them with things that fill you over and over again, you're going to have all the energy that's necessary to really be there for both your community and most importantly for yourself through this, so that you can consistently stay there for your community and move from a place of having to be overwhelmed around it all to a place where it's like you're simply thriving, both you and every member of your community. I'm Niiamah Ashong. I would love to hear back from you. Leave a comment, leave a message on anything that resonates with you, or anything that doesn't. If you're like, no, this just cannot work, go ahead and let me know. I'm looking forward to your growth and to your community's success. Be well.